Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Saturday, the 6th of June, 2026. All the sixes this morning. It's 666 here on Morning Brew. On Hughes of the World, I'm Graham Hughes, and this is the world. Yay! Hello, everyone in the chat. Sid is passing. I'm sorry to hear that. We've also got Diz in there. We've got Sid, Diz, Spherelanks. We have got Ms. Paula Thomas, Gallifreyan Wren in there as well. Sarah Davis, hello one, hello all, how you all doing? Hey listen, if you want to join our funky friends in the funky chat, all you need to do is press the funky subscribe button and wait for approximately 60 of your Earth seconds, and you'll be able to join in. Hey Sarah, oh my mum's there. Hi mum, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day today. Oh, my collar's twisted the wrong way. Oh, that's no good. Can't go out dressed like that, can I? Just like a hooligan. Anyway, so I hope you're having a fairly pleasant weekend so far. I know it's just begun, like the Carpenters. But I do note that it is actually just horrible and drizzly and rainy here in Durham. So I hope you're having slightly better weather. Slightly better. You know, I don't want it to be too good because then, you know, I get jealous. Okay, so Scott is in the chat as well. Martin Harrow is there saying hello. Gallifreyan Wren says, I'm feeling decent so far. Slept well. Good news. Been to the shop. Today's breakfast is a toast platter, and tonight I'm doing a tuna and veggie pasta feast. Oh, you're making me hungry. Brilliant. Good stuff there, Gallifreyan man. So, yeah, I'll set a goal. So we set a goal before we get started, because I always forget to do this, and then someone throws a super chat in, and then it doesn't count towards the goal, and I feel bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel bad that I haven't, you know, allowed them to confetti to add to the confetti. So we'll load up the confetti can. Just add to that. And press start go. And today we're going to be talking about disinformation. Disinformation for the nation, because the deputy leader of the Labour Party, Lucy Powell, has hit out at disinformation and misinformation from the far right, from the likes of Farage that we saw this week. And also Downing Street has hit out, the PM has hit out at people seeking to stir division after JD Vance did some disinformationing about a British news story. You know, get himself involved, insert himself in there like a twat. God, I'd love there to be like a big, beautiful day. Do you know what I mean? Like all at once. Like a meteorite strike. Or you know that bit in Game of Thrones where she blows up the church with everyone in it? Yeah. Come on. Let's get the wildfire. Let's go. That's why I'm never going to be allowed back into America. Anyway, not that I want to go there. By the way, if you want to watch the England versus New Zealand friendly at the World Cup, it's a warm-up match. It takes place tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time in America. If you want to go to that, there's still 50,000 tickets available to the match tonight. So if you want to fly over to Florida and bag yourself one of those tickets, you can sit there in an empty stadium watching England and New Zealand play kickball at each other. Disinformation, lol, says Mystique. Disinformation, I like that. My mate's daughter is doing her Duke of Edinburgh bronze today. Lovely weather. Ooh, lovely. Sunny in the south, Graham. Oh, look at you showing off, Sid, with your son. It's fine. I'm not jealous. It's okay. It's just the weekend. You know, I'll just wrap up warm and hike to my nearest cafe, which is like 17 freaking miles away. Yay, Durham. Anyway, I'm going to be in Liverpool at the weekend of the 20th, by the way. If anyone's about and they're meeting up with A. Thompson in the evening, I will be there, hopefully, trains permitting. Yeah, hope to see you there. And hopefully it'll be sunny as well. Who knows, maybe. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about disinformation for the nation. See what I did there? That's what this should do for GB News. It should say disinformation for the nation. So look, what I want to talk about today is disinformation, misinformation, and how we fight back. And misinformation is false information shared by people who believe it's true. Okay? So that's genuinely people who are misinformed. So think about the word misinformed, and that's the people who spread misinformation. Disinformation is false or misleading information that is spread deliberately. Okay, so with misinformation, intent matters. These people may just be thick as pig shit. They may have been kicked in the head by a horse. They might just be, morons. They might be mistaken rather than malicious. So good examples of misinformation are when people tell you that the pyramids were built by aliens or we didn't land on the moon or something like that, and they genuinely believe it. Meanwhile, disinformation is something that the Russian government, at least the premier, the king, the emperor of the Russian Federation of the Russian Empire, likes to trot out. This is the objective, where the objective is to persuade, confuse, sow division, distract, use weapons of mass distraction, manipulate people. Sound familiar? Sound like a well-worn trope for people on the right wing, like Trump and Farage and Putin. And state actors, political campaigns, extremists, and scammers all use it. The con men, con artists have got this in common. This is why we talk about Farage, we talk about Trump, we talk about Vladimir Putin. They are con artists. All three of them, and Netanyahu, are absolute con artists. Malinformation is real information which is used deceptively. So when people talk about the best way to slide in a lie is sandwiched between two truths. So you say something that's true, you say something that's false, and then you say something that's true. Or you say something that's like self-evident. It's evident that all lives matter, for instance. And then everyone says, okay, well, that's a truism. Yeah, all lives do matter. It's not like, some lives don't matter. No, all lives do matter. Yeah. But they use that in the context of saying, some lives matter less. That's the subtext of that. So they'll use a truism. They'll use something that, the sky is blue and Hitler was a good man and grass is green. And then you're like, hang on. Something you said there wasn't quite true. Oh, you're saying that the grass isn't green. Hey, that's called malinformation. And it's genuine facts stripped of context, selective editing, leaked material released at politically advantageous moments. We saw this week with the refuckfuckers putting out an advert with Kemi Badnoch on it, a bit of political propaganda, saying that she didn't want to hear about White Lives Matter. And that was taken out of its context. So that's called malinformation. And the most successful information operations do not rely on outright lies. They mix truth, exaggeration, and omission. A convincing half truth can travel a lot further than a complete fabrication. Although, to be honest with you, the way America's gone, Trump gets up in the morning and he goes, "It's Wednesday today," and everyone goes, "No, Donnie, it's Saturday, you dickhead, you fucking demented old twat." And he's like, "Oh no, it's Wednesday. I say it's Wednesday, so it's Wednesday." And then all of his little drones go into lockstep and go, "Yes, Donnie, you are right. It is Wednesday." The grass was yellow here last week. Well, there you go. You see, Martin, you're picking it apart already. Hypernormalization. Ernie Burns has mentioned that. There's a great little documentary by Adam Curtis called Hypernormalization, which is about this, which is about making it difficult to work out what's real and what's not real. Which is, look, let's just talk about for a moment before we crack on with the sort of political thing about it. Let's talk about how vulnerable human beings are to this. Like, we talk about vulnerability to disease amongst certain cohorts. There was just a startling message this week that came out, because after it was announced that black men between the ages of, I think, 45 and 70 were going to be offered free prostate screenings, because that cohort is more likely to get prostate cancer, right? You had this dickhead, I think it was Yuzia Yusuf, actually, or one of those dickheads from it was a refucker, I think. And he goes, "Oh, look at this, there's nothing out there for white people, is there?" And I'm like, well, if you're old and white, yeah, you get different medical treatment than if you're young and white. You get checked for heart attacks if you're in your 40s and 50s, which you don't really do in your 20s because it's so rare that someone in their 20s would have a heart attack. Do you know what I mean? Like, regular screening, there's no point because it causes more harm than it does good if you're going to result in a lot more false positives and all the trauma that causes. So it's best to keep the screening for a certain cohort of society. But they but the thing is, human brains are evolved for survival, not for truth seeking. And we respond emotionally before we respond rationally. There is a good reason for this. If you are a child and you run out into the road and get hit by a car, you're dead. And that's it. Your genes stop with you. And so, well, I suppose you could have relatives. So, yeah, your capacity to have kids ends there. Your capacity. If your mother or father says, don't go too near the cliff, you might fall off. There's no time to be saying, oh yeah, I'll try that scientifically, because if you did, well, you could have time to do it, but if you did do that, you might die, So humans are inbuilt to not necessarily seek the truth, but at the same time to sort of err on the side of caution. If someone tells you something, we tend to go, okay, well, that sounds fairly reasonable. If it sounds reasonable on the surface, don't go too near the cliff. You might fall off and break your head on the rocks below, right? That seems plausible. Whereas, don't go too near the cliff. There's a big monster there that'll eat you. I mean, some kids might believe that, but it's unlikely that an adult would. And so we respond emotionally. And this is what I talk about a lot of the time with voting. I say people vote emotionally. They do not vote with their heads. They vote with their hearts. And people, the powers that be, the billionaire, the powers that billionaire know that fear, anger, and outrage generate engagement. Now we see this online with these disgusting, horrific platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Essentially, rage bait farming, because they know that generates engagement. The newspapers have known this for decades. The newspapers have engaged in, fear, anger, and outrage farming for over 100 years now. And what you've got there as well is humans' confirmation bias. People are more likely to accept information that reinforces their existing beliefs. So if they already believe that the police are racist against white people, then they'll see it everywhere, even though there's no statistical evidence to back that up whatsoever. If anything, the police are more likely to be biased against brown people and against black people. And so contradictory evidence to people's cognitive bias it is scrutinized more heavily. And then you've also got availability bias, which is dramatic events feel more common than they really are. One shocking crime can distort perceptions of wider trends. There's also selection bias, where people read certain articles, they look at certain websites, they'll watch Gammon Box News, or they'll be caught in a far right bubble on their social media, and all they see is reinforcements, usually bots, by the way, of what they already believe. Also, Zia Yusuf called the targeted prostate screening amongst black men aged 45 to 74 as racist. That's what I was talking about, Chris. Yeah, that was it. Graham, it was Refoot councillor Graham Harwood who said prostate cancer for black men is aged 45 to 74 as racism against white men. No, but I didn't see George Harwin. I saw Zia Yusuf talking about that, and was just like, Miss Plum, it's been a slow business week, which is concerning as it's payday week. I'm sorry to hear that, Chris. That really sucks. I hope things pick up. Maybe because there's going to be people in the north and they're going to be trapped inside today because it's not the weather's not great at the moment. It might cheer up later. They might get online and buy some stuff. Sending good vibes your way. There's also the availability bias that I mentioned. Like one shocking crime, which happened. Obviously, it happened in December, but it all came out after the court case this week. And one shocking crime can distort perspectives of wider trends, right, or perceptions of wider trends. Now, I often think about this, how people believe that the murder rate is like way higher than it actually is. The likelihood of being murdered by a stranger is a lot higher than it actually is. You're way more likely to be murdered by someone that you know, or sexually assaulted by someone that you know, rather than some random on the streets or hiding in their fucking toilets. People also freak out when something horrific happens, right? And there's always a conspiracy, isn't there? Because, famous people can't just die, or the sort of news events in my sort of lifetime that really stick out, things like the Jamie Bulger murder and the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, both of which were used by the political right to achieve political ends. They love jumping on tragedies and saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, as a result of this thing that's happened. But they are notable because they're so rare. We don't even get in our news in the UK stories about the killings that happen every day in American schools. There's no point, because it's every day. There's no novelty to it. Whereas everyone in this country who was alive when Dunblane happened remembers Dunblane because it was so outrageously shocking. It had never really happened before, not to that extent, and it hasn't happened since. It's been 30 years now since Dunblane, and we've not had another mass shooting event in a school like that. They have them all the time in America. And so what happens when we have these really extraordinary events, we tend to sort of go, oh, we need to stop this ever happening again. And the route that people take to stop it from ever happening again can be all kinds of crazy shit. Don't forget, after Jamie Bulger's murder, they banned the video game, they banned Child's Play 3 on VHS, they banned a load of movies, they banned the Reservoir Dogs. And it was just a bit like, what? Oh, well, they must have watched violent movies and that's why they did it. No, little psychopaths who weren't brought up right by their parents. The parents should have known where they were. The parents should have been making more. I genuinely believe that the parents of the killers of Jamie Bulger should have also gone to jail, being shit parents. There you go. There's a lesson to you, all you breeders out there. If your kid fucks up that badly, we're going to blame you. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. A teacher had worked on propaganda during World War II. She told us that the Americans were particularly bad at propaganda. We let out all the good news and some of the bad, and they only let out the good news. Yeah. But yeah, so there's availability bias, selection bias, confirmation bias. There's also tribal thinking. People often defend their political team when confronted with evidence. Identity becomes more important than facts, and this is what James O'Brien calls the footballification of politics. And also, social media exploits all of these weaknesses, all of these human weaknesses, exploits every single one. Engagement drives profit for these bastards. Anger generates engagement, therefore anger is rewarded. In the same way that being a good person is obviously punished in this country. So I'll give an example of how being a good person is punished in this country. If you are a bad person and you don't want to pay your fair share of tax because you're a bad person, if you can afford a really good accountant and you can scribble things away in an Irish, Dutch, Bermuda bank account, whatever, you can save loads of money and you get rewarded for that because that means there's more money that you can keep for yourself. So capital gains tax is half of what the top rate of income tax is. You don't have to pay any tax at all on a loan. So if you're very rich, like Elon Musk or Larry Ellison or Jeff Bezos, you can claim that you're on minimum wage, which is what Jeff Bezos does. He actually gets income support. Jeff Bezos, one of the richest people on the planet, he gets income support from the American taxpayer because clever lawyers. So he gets rewarded for being evil, right? Now you want to be good, right? You've paid your money for your parking for the rest of the day, right? Paid your money for the rest of the parking, but you're leaving at 3 p.m. and you see a woman come in with a pushchair, and she's getting the pushchair out the back of the car, just parked up next to you, and you hand her the pay and display ticket, and you go, "Here, this is valid for the rest of the day. Do you want this? Because you don't need it, and you've paid for it. You have paid for that spot, right, for the rest of the day. So, as far as the owners of the car park are concerned, like that car park space that you have has been taken up, right? And all you're doing is making it so instead of that space, it's the space next door to it. You're doing a nice thing. You're letting someone else have that space that you've already paid for. You have paid for that. It's like you've bought an ice cream and then you give the ice cream, you buy 2 ice creams. You have one for yourself and then you give one to a stranger. And then people come along and go, no, you can't do that anymore. Because what you have to do is you have to type in your registration number into the pay and display machine. right? And that's so that you can't give the ticket to somebody else on the way out. That is fucking mind-blowing. That is like, how is that even legal? You've bought something, you've bought that space for the rest of the day, and they're like, no, as soon as you leave, we're going to put someone else in there, and we're going to charge them. And these car parking spaces, especially down in London, I mean, fucking like £10 an hour. You know, it's like, it costs more to put a car in a little fucking square in some disgusting, piss-stinking hellhole of a multi-story car park, concrete multi-story car park that was built in the 1970s, covered in graffiti and all the concrete falling off the damn thing. You know, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to have a flat, to have a flat than to have a little. It's cheaper to have a mortgage on a house. Unbefrickin-leavable. You're paying 120 quid for a day's parking in London. Jesus. And you can't give your ticket to someone else. So we actively punish people for being nice. We actively punish people in this country for doing the right thing. I'll give another example. If you have a company and it's throwing out its old IT kit, right? For the longest time, and I don't know if the companies still do this, but they used to. If they're going to upgrade their kit, right? So they're getting rid of a load of CRT monitors and they're replacing them with flat screens, or they're getting rid of the old generation PCs and they're replacing them, right? Those old generation PCs, they can't be given to the staff to take home with them, so the kids can have a computer to play on. They can't do that. Because if you do that, you can be punished. Because if someone electrocutes themselves on it, or they smash the screen and cut their finger, they can sue the company and said, "Oh, you shouldn't have given them to us. You're supposed to sell it," but then the company can't sell it because it's not what the company does. You know, the company is involved in life insurance or something. It's not involved in IT or IT sales. And so a lot of the time, all this tech goes in the fucking bin, goes in the skip, because that's the company policy. You can't be nice. You can't say, "Here you go. Oh, I believe you know your kid's struggling in school. Here you go. Have a computer." To someone who's worked there for 30 years, you can't do that. The system's set up so you can't do nice things. But if you want to be horrible, oh my God, all the doors open to you. All the doors just fly open. Oh, you're horrible. Nigel Farage, the most horrible man in Britain, gets £5 million. Gets 5 million spondoolies from some twat in Thailand. And we're supposed to shut up about this. We're not supposed to ask Nigel Farage every time he's been interviewed. You're not going to mention the £5 million that he got. That's 20 houses. That's 20. He was given 20 houses. He was given an entire street of fucking houses by this gobshite in Thailand. He's given another 3 million, by the way, this in the last few months, to the refuck movement. So this is 30 million pounds this fucker's given. Right. Meanwhile, you've got refuck-led councils going, "Ooh, we've got a shortfall of £30 million. We're going to have to put up council tax." One of the most regressive taxes there is. Yeah, and the message from the right wing is: don't be nice, don't be kind. Don't be nice, don't be kind, don't be generous, don't be friendly, don't be nice. Just be horrible. Just be horrible, bitter, twisted, evil, because then you will be rewarded. So much so that in America, although it looks like it has been back-heeled now, but the plan was to give everyone who stomped on a cop's head at the Capitol building $1 million reward. There you go. It's at the prize fund for stomping on a policeman's head. Nice. Here in Burton, we have several public EV chargers which people have to pay to use, and then they have to pay for parking as well. £5 million Brexit reward should have been treated as a bribe by the security services. It is a bribe. What is the difference between a gift and a bribe, right? You have quid pro quo here. Absolutely clear as day. You do not need a court case for this, you know? You can just turn up as Judge fucking Dredd, you know, judge, jury, and executor on this one, right? Here's the story. There is a crypto billionaire who gave Nigel Farage the biggest political donation in history. And then Nigel Farage said, "I'm going to stand as, on the leader of this party." And the manifesto that we published, which they published in 2024, which they called a contract or something, they didn't call it a manifesto. It says specifically that they want to reduce regulation on cryptocurrencies. Crypto billionaire, money to politician. Politician says, quid pro quo. Well, we even talk about, why is this fucker not in jail? You know, there's still people out there who are going to vote for him. There's still people out there who think, he's our guy. He's our guy. We love this guy. Yeah, empathy bad, says W. James. Yeah, that's what Elon Musk said in that last year or the year before, maybe now, I don't know. In that podcast, he said the biggest problem in the planet right now is there's too much empathy. Morning sound. Morning all. What news of capitalist fuckery have I missed? Well, there's a lot of shit fuckery. There is a lot of shit fuckery going on right now. We're just talking about how disinformation and misinformation spreads, and it spreads like wildfire because outrage is monetized now on social media. Social media companies are not truth companies. They are attention companies. Their revenue depends on keeping users engaged for as long as possible. Content that provokes emotional reactions consistently performs best. Outrage, fear, resentment, conspiracy theories. And they won't help, when there is a rage emoji on what's it called? On Facebook. Now, Facebook could very easily disable emojis, right? Reaction emojis, the 6 that you're given. They can very easily say, listen, do you want to not have some of these emojis available? So, for instance, if you are doing a story, if you're publishing a story, if you're a news outlet, public with the BBC, publishing a story about a boat that has capsized in the English Channel, killing people on board, women and children on board, you get rid of the laugh emoji. You're like, no one can laugh at that. But what happens is people do, and then other people go on that thing and go, oh, that must be funny. Oh yeah, that people are laughing at that, so that's a good thing that's happened. It's a funny, good thing that has happened. And Facebook facilitate that because Facebook are fuckers. Facebook is one of the most evil companies on the planet. And do you know what? It doesn't look as evil as Twitter these days, but it's like comparing a pile of shit with a pile of sick. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, they're both pretty fucking horrible. You know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, probably one's slightly worse than the other. But, oh my God, the people who are suffering because of these internet platforms is crazy. And I'm honestly, the older I get, the more crotchety I get. I'm not quite to the point where I'm writing, kids these days don't have any attention. I saw a TikToker the other day who's younger than me going, oh, the problem is kids don't have any attention span. Fuck off. Kids don't have any attention span these. Oh, fuck off. I've heard that all my life. Do you know who also heard that? The ancient fucking Greeks. 2,000 years ago, the Greeks were writing, oh, these kids don't have any attention span, And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Stop saying the kids don't have, it's because of the tablets. They look at the tablet, don't have any attention span. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Oh, they're all stupid these days. No, they're not. They're not. There's a cohort that isn't doing very well for intelligence. It's the older cohort. And some of it's not their fault. You get older, you get a bit more dothery, don't you? Also, you get a bit more fash. Yeah. You get a bit more scared, enlarged amygdala, which means that you look at everything going, oh my God, that's terrifying. We're all going to die. The newspapers and the social media sites play on it. But without sounding too much like an old codger, yes, I do think that social media shites should be, I'm going to call them shites from now on, should be shut off from children. Like, children should be allowed to access them. The shit anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you need this stuff to have a functioning good childhood or teenage years. But I'll go further. I will ban Twitter in this country. If I was in charge, Twitter would be banned. That is it. Because it keeps flouting the law. GB News will be banned because it keeps flouting the fucking law. We have laws in this country. And why is it that we are beholden to an American law when it comes to publication of information on the internet? Right? So there's a 1995 law in America which essentially allows for these publishing companies like Facebook, and because this began with like geosites, didn't it, and stuff like that, geocities, sorry, where people were posting stuff, and then the owners of those sites were getting into trouble with the law because it was posted on their site. So what they did is they decoupled the concept of publishing from the concept of being online. But there was supposed to be some safeguards there. There's supposed to be like, but obviously, if you can't be posting horrific images, pornographic images of children and all this kind of stuff, you can't be obviously putting that on there. You have a duty to take it down, but they never really codified what that duty was. It was always left very fuzzy. Why have we adopted that in the UK? Like, that's not our law. That's a fucking American law. That's something to do with American companies. And if they don't, this is why we need stronger laws in this country to say, no, if someone puts up anything horrific online on any of these platforms, it must be taken down within 10 seconds. And for everyone who has seen it, you get fined £1 million. There you go, mate. Oh, what? Your post was seen by 67 million people. Well, what's going to cost you? Hey, think of all the hospitals we could build with that money. Yeah. James O'Brien said LBC should get off X. Yeah, it should. Every time they do anything to Farage, he says this is the woke establishment trying to silence me. They all lap it up. Yeah, it's a bit ironic, isn't it? Where you get these nanas and granddads and stuff sitting down with a sign over the summer supporting Palestinian action, being arrested by the police. Meanwhile, fucking Farage's lot going out and throwing fucking chairs and tables and someone threw an e-bike at the police on Tuesday night. Yeah, they're all, no, that's good. Don't worry about that. That newfangled thing called writing ruined the kids' memories. Don't get me started on the abacus who already got fingers and toes. Yeah, I know. Oh, please. If you start a sentence to me saying kids these days, you've lost me. I'm sorry, you've lost me because it's all I've heard all my life. You may as well tell me that hydrogen power is just around the corner, all right? Because I've heard it all my life. I'm 47. I'm sick of it. Stop it, please. Just stop it. Kids these days. Social media companies should be treated as publishers. Yes, Chris C. They should be forced to be responsible for the content posted on their platforms and not shirk away from not doing anything. Yes, and also, Chris C., you make a very good point, which I completely agree with. So I'm going to give you comment of the day so far. This is comment of the day going to Chris C. Chris C., comment of the day down there. Social media companies should be treated as publishers. Absolutely 100%. Could not agree more. What I wanted to say in addition to that, in the past, the excuse was, but we got so many users. We've got 1 million users and we can't check what everyone's putting online all the time. Yes, you can. Can now. Got AI, haven't you? Got AI. Yeah. AI. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Got AI. Translate it into any fucking language. You can't say, well, no one here speaks Burmese, so we don't know what this hate feature's saying. He's saying kill all the Muslims. And they're like literally going out and killing Muslims. Zuckerberg. Oh, yeah, but we can't. We've only got one translator for the whole of Burmese fucking Facebook. So, what can we do? Well, you can do something now. This AI that you keep going on about, you keep banging on about how wonderful the AI is, that can easily check for what the fuck is going on. But no, instead of that, Elon Musk uses Grok to undress women, to humiliate and undress women and little girls. That's fucked. That is beyond fucked. Could be using AI to make sure that people aren't posting hateful, shite, disinformation, misinformation, but no, they choose not to do that. They've taken the thing off Facebook that used to say, hey, this thing that you're posting is bullshit. They've taken that off because we're now living in the disinformation age, or as a comedian I like to follow calls it, the thicky dum age. The age of the thicky dum. Woo! Comment of the day, says Chris. So yes, we do have a business problem model here, which is algorithms learning pattern behaviors. They're not politically conscious. They just simply push whatever people keep stopping on. When you're scrolling, you stop on it and you go, oh, that's outrageous, I'm going to comment on that. And a moderate, nuanced discussion rarely outperforms a post claiming that civilization is collapsing, or that Nigel Farage is the Messiah, or something equally as utterly ridiculous. Why foreign governments do this? Modern geopolitical competition is not limited to tanks and missiles. Information has become a strategic weapon, and the goal is not persuasion; it is disruption. What the Russian authorities want to do is to destroy the United Kingdom. They want to destroy the European Union. They want to destroy Europe. They want us all at our throats again, killing each other like we were for centuries before the EU came along, or the EEC came along. And the hostile state does not need you to support them. It only needs you to distrust your own intuitions. And that's one of the huge factors of how countries like North Korea and Russia survive, is because they're so good at the misinformation, the disinformation that is pumped out, and the malinformation. And what they're trying to do is make it so that we don't know what's real anymore. We don't know what's AI and what's real news, what's fake news, what's actually happening and what's just made up in someone's fucking head. And if citizens lose faith in elections, courts, the media, government, science, that's great for fascists. That's great for autocrats like Putin, but it's shit for us who live in a democracy. It becomes easier for the democracy to destabilize and fall apart and fall into rack and ruin and become an autocracy. The reason why the right are so obsessed with the politics of division is because they know that the more divided a nation is, the easier it is for them to rule over with an iron fist, killing everyone who's seen as the enemy. And we've seen this time and time again. How many times do we have to hear this song before we actually pay attention to the lyrics and go, oh, hang on, yeah, that's what it's saying to me. You know, I think we just drown out what's happened in history, like white noise or something. It's not. It's living. It's happening right now. You have countries all over the world, especially in places like in Africa and West Africa. We talked about this last week when I was doing my marathon show. We have countries where the British or the French or the Belgians or the Portuguese or whoever decided to invade, the Germans, and take these lands, put tribes together that fucking hated each other and said, right, you're all one country now. They put two religions that have had historic beef against each other together in a country. Cote d'Ivoire, north of it's Muslim, south of it's Christian. The Nigeria, famously, north of it is Muslim, the south of it is Christian. Sudan, the north of it was Muslim, the south of it was animist, Christian animist, and that ended up breaking away and becoming South Sudan. But that was those lines were not drawn by Sudan. Sudan did not decide where its borders were. That's why it's got so many straight lines in it. Yeah, they were drawn by someone with a cartographer. Humans don't do that. You look at all the borders in Europe; they're all wiggly as fuck. Why? Well, because they just went along rivers. They went along natural barriers. They went along mountain ranges and said, "Okay, well, that side of the mountain's yours. This side of the mountain's ours." All the borders, the old borders of the world, are all squiggly. All the new borders that were drawn by, cartographers in the 1960s, they're all straight, or they have straight lines in them. Absolutely, the person I get along with most at work is half my age. My boss is 10 years younger and a great guy. Yeah. Was Phil not able to find that Guardian article? Did Hannah Spencer say MPs and Phil referred to meant all? But that does not necessarily imply all. I don't know Peter Paint a lot. He hasn't got back to me on that, but I'm sorry, but I'm so with Hannah Spencer on this. They shouldn't be drinking on the job. That's it. If we can't, I mean, I can drink on the job because I'm self-employed. But if I always have a wee dram with me. I mean, come on. Yeah, I was like, what? I completely agree with what she's saying here. Yeah, but she's not technically correct because they're not all drunk all the time. I'm like, I don't know if she said that, but yeah. Phil likes to get his technical correction things in, doesn't he? But that's all right. We love Phil. He's a top bloke. Strange how Russia was not regarded as a threat once they ceased to be communists. Yes. It's funny that, isn't it? But then there were people who didn't think Russia was a threat back in the day, tankies. Have we really changed that much? There are people on the left who spout out lines from the Kremlin, say that the Ukrainians should just lay down their weapons and just let the good Russians come and murder them and steal their children and sexually abuse them and destroy their culture, destroy their language, destroy their religion. They should just lie down and take it, really, if they think about it, because Russia's never done anything awful. Moscow's never done anything awful in the past. They're the good guys. They're the good guys, right? I know they're the good guys because the US and Europe are supporting Ukraine, so they must be the bad guys, yeah? Yeah, up is down, left is right. Straight cis white borders cause all the trouble. Yes, they do. Yes, Ernie Burns. We need more. We need more wiggly, multicolored borders. Reform News, a county council in Kent has said that people who can't afford IVF treatment should not be allowed to bring babies into the world. Oh my God. Oh my God. I hate them. I just hate them. I just hate them so much. They don't live in the real world. None of them live in the real world. They've never had to want for anything. No. These billionaires, millionaires, Coots bank account holders, with their rich sugar daddies in other countries, just giving them loads of money, not for sexual favors. I mean, look at Farage Awards, but you know, for political favors, for political favors. But yeah, talking about Russia though, Russia has has invested heavily in influence operations for years. Key examples that we know of include the British referendum, the EU referendum of June 2016, and then you've got the US election later that year, which we know they interfered in. The Macron leaks in France, the Bundestag cyber attack in Germany in 2015. We know that they interfered in the Scottish independence referendum in 2014. And Russian operations typically focus on nationalism, migration is a big thing for them. Any social divisions, they push further and further those social divisions. Cultural conflicts, so the anti-trans propaganda that we're seeing just explode over the last 5 years or arguably 10 years has come from some of it has come from Russia and the oil companies. Anti-establishment narratives coming from establishment figures like Nigel Farage. They frequently support multiple contradictory narratives simultaneously, and the objective is confusion. If people can't agree on reality, collective action becomes a lot harder. You try getting a bunch of lefties in a room together to try and march on Parliament or something, you're going to have difficulties because everyone's got their own priorities. I won't say reality, but priorities. You're seeing this on the right now with reality, though, where you've got these splinter groups. So you've got the Refuck Party, which is a splinter group of the UKIP party, and then there's the Restore Britain Party, which is a splinter group from Refuck, and then you've got Advance UK, which I think has wrapped up things this week. I don't think it exists anymore. And then you've got Reclaim with that loser Fox creep at its head, who, I think it's just a party of one. Yay! Sad little man. Sad little loser Fox going home for his one-man orgy. Oh, loser Fox, how sad. Look at you on Father's Day, sitting in your back garden, sitting in your backyard, attempting to burn pride flags. But they won't burn, will they, Lawrence? No, they won't burn because of the EU. They made them out of fire retardant materials. Yeah, they did. Sorry, Lawrence. You're going to have to sit there watching your flags not burn in the back garden on Father's Day because your kids want nothing to do with you. Anyway, so the objective obviously is that they support multiple contradictory narratives simultaneously, and this is something that Adam Curtis talks about in hypernormalization, and also in his shorts on Odearism, which appeared as part of Charlie Brooker's Screenwipe series. They support contradictory narratives simultaneously, and the objective is confusion. If people cannot agree on reality, then collective action becomes harder. If we're all arguing amongst ourselves on what the big problem is or whether these are actual problems, every time someone famous dies, especially if they're young. I mean, if they're older, you sort of go, "Oh, that's awful. Anthony Head died yesterday," and that really, a lot of my friends and myself included, found that very upsetting. Yeah, if somebody dies or some political event happens somewhere, and there's a lot of people on the left whose first knee-jerk reaction is, "Oh, there must be a secret thing behind this," and usually it's not. Usually it's just Occam's razor, whatever the most obvious thing that happened, generally speaking. There's not always a conspiracy. There's not always people behind it, because there doesn't need to be. There doesn't need to be. 9/11 didn't have to be a conspiracy for it to be a fantastic vehicle for the fash and the terrorists to spread fear. Obviously, that's a thing that terrorists want to do. But then you got the fash, you also want to spread disinformation, so people don't want to accept reality or feel like there's something else to be found out here. And one of the things that the 9/11 conspiracy theorists were very, very good at was getting people on side, getting people to not believe the evidence of their own eyes when they watch those terrible events happen on live TV, or even if you were in New York at the time and you saw them with your own eyes in reality, to turn around and go, "No, it didn't really happen," or "It didn't happen the way you thought it did." Because I found it as a slight technicality that it can't have ended this way, because suddenly I've got fucking master's degree in metallurgy, metallurgy, whatever it's called, the study of metals. So yeah, the objective obviously is confusion, and Russian influence campaigns, these bot campaigns, these misinformation campaigns, disinformation campaigns, they often have different messages for different countries and different messages for different audiences inside the same country. So, for instance, if you want to spread xenophobia, if you want to spread anti-Semitism for your left-wing people, your left-wing audience that you're trying to get on side with your disinformation, you will conflate Jewish people with the state of Israel and the crimes that are being committed by the government of Israel. You will conflate the two things, and people will go, okay, well, that's all one thing, isn't it? All Jewish people support what the Israeli government is doing, which is the disgusting thing to say, because they don't, first of all, and secondly, most Jewish people in this country do not get a vote in the government of Israel. But it leads to the idea that, and I'll be writing about this when I do my next chapter of my book, because chapter 5 I go to Israel. The idea that if you support the existence of a country, then you automatically you support the crimes being committed by the now government of that country is such utter bullshit, because it doesn't apply to any other country in the world apart from Israel. It's the only country in the world that it seems to apply to. You know, you don't get these people who are refugees coming from Eritrea, and then you know they're fleeing for their lives, you know, because the government is literally going to kill them. It's quite an autocratic government in Eritrea. It's why we get a lot of refugees coming into the EU from Europe from Eritrea. And if you said to them, "Do you think that Eritrea should exist as a state?" and they say, "Yeah," and then you go, well, you see, therefore you support the government that you fled from. Yeah. Do you see the problem there? And we don't do this. So Israel was created in 1948, a year before, well, not even a year before, a few months before, in 1947, the country of Pakistan was created. And it was a homeland for Muslim people. So Israel, homeland for Jewish people. Pakistan, homeland for Muslim people. And in the creation of Pakistan, the partition of Pakistan and India, 1 million people were killed. And hundreds of thousands of people were forcibly displaced from where they had lived 4 centuries over an imaginary line that was drawn by a British cartographer and told, you need to move from your village over there. And they were like, but there's nothing over there. I don't live there. I've got no roots. I've got no shop. I've got no way of making money. I don't have a farm there, you know? No, tough shit. You have got to move from here to there. Why? Because you're Hindu, or you're a Buddhist, or you're a Sikh, or you're a Zoroastrian, or whatever it is. We're creating the land of the pure, Pakistan, right? Now that happened. It's shit. Don't get me wrong. It's shit. I wish that had not happened, but it did. I do not see anybody ever say that Pakistan shouldn't exist, because it was born out of misery and the forced relocation of people. People saying, yeah, that was a bad thing that happened, but does it negate Pakistan's right to exist? I would say no, because we're stuck with it now. And how do we do anything about it? Do you want to get rid of Pakistan and then forcibly move Muslims to India or to Iran? Like, well, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want people? Afghanistan? I mean, what's the plan here? And you're like, oh, well, the things settled down, didn't they? No, they didn't. Pakistan had a war against India in the 1960s. In 1973, East Pakistan broke away from West Pakistan and became Bangladesh. Yeah, and even to this day, we are still seeing skirmishes and people dying up in Kashmir and Jammu because India and Pakistan are fighting over it. Because at the time, the people of Kashmir were majority Muslim, but the leader was a Hindu. The king was a Hindu. My point here is that if you want to get left-wing people on side to the idea that Israel shouldn't exist, on side for the concept of anti-Semitism, it's very easy to conflate the idea that most Jews in this country believe that Israel should exist. I'm not Jewish. I believe that Israel should exist because it does. Not that it should, maybe. I believe it does exist. And it should continue to exist because it does exist. I'm sorry that geopolitics is messy and horrible. But if you're going to make an example of one country and say, well, you can't have one land of the pure, you can't have one country that was created by pushing the people who'd lived there for centuries out of that place and then, setting up shop in where they used to live. Well, go look at Pakistan. Look at Pakistan. What's the difference? And I don't see people fleeing from Pakistan because the government there is shit, and it has been for a very long time. The multiple. Every time they get a democracy for a few years, along come the military and like, no, we're gonna go back to the military running the place. Ha ha! General Musharraf and all that lot. Just we're just gonna tell you what to do. So people leave because they're in fear of their life, and if then they come to the UK and you say to them, do you think that Pakistan should exist? They'll say yes. Can you then extrapolate that because they think that Pakistan should exist and they are of the same religion as Pakistan, as the state religion of Pakistan, which is Muslim? Are you going to say to them, like, are they going to say to you, I support this country's right to exist, even though I don't live there anymore. I ran away because it was horrible. And then you say, okay, so you support the government, you support the crimes that the government is committing. How offensive is that? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument to make, but it's really offensive. What if that person's had some fucking mad fucking trauma caused by what that government's done? But if we're going to go back, I mean, how far back do we do it? How far back? Because a lot of the countries in Europe were only created in the 1800s and during the nation-building phase of Europe. Germany didn't exist in the 1850s. It's just a bunch of little fucking principalities. People didn't. There was a country called Prussia. Where'd it go? I don't know. It's just there's no Prussians anymore. Yeah, there were countries that were there that aren't there anymore. Lithuania used to stretch from the Baltic fucking Sea down to the bloody Mediterranean. Oh, sorry, the Black Sea down to the Black Sea at one point. That's how big Lithuania used to be. Now it's this big. Things move, things change. Okay, it's not great, it's not ideal, and I won't say that it is. But you piss with the dick you got. But if you want to get left-wing people on side, you can then to be a bit anti-Semitic. And I've had drinks with people who are very, very left-wing and very, very opinionated and very, very like to say, and they have a few drinks inside them, and then they say something along the lines of that the Jews run the world. A secret shadow cabal of Jews run the world. They've also done this with trans people. They've said, yep, there's a trans agenda. The trans lobby. There's a lobby? Is there a lobby? Can someone let me know the way through to the lobby? Because I've not seen this lobby. If there is a lobby, I'd love to, hang out with it because it sounds cool and groovy and, it's needed. I think we need a trans lobby. I think it was a fantastic idea. If someone asked me, what do you think of the trans lobby? I'll say, yeah, that'd be great. When's it starting? When does it start? The 650 MPs. None of them are trans. Not a single one. But it's easy to get people on the left on board with this anti-trans rhetoric, because what you do is you conflate it with feminism, and you say, oh, it's just the same as feminism, really. Being a feminist, being a good feminist is being a transphobe. And some people on the left pick up on this and go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because if you support the rights of trans women, then you're taking rights away from women, from cisgender women. But if trans women are women, then you're not taking rights away from anyone. Just making sure that everyone is given the same amount of dignity and respect in the world, as long as they don't commit a crime. Have they committed a crime? No. Well, give them dignity and respect then. What the fuck is wrong with you? But then you look on the right-hand side of things, and it's very easy to get people on the right to, be anti-Semitic. I mean, the KKK are the leading anti-Semitic organization of America, big supporters of Donald Trump, of course. People on the right are very, very, very happy to support not just anti-Semitism, but also at the same time, sowing confusion, the government, the right-wing fascist, fash-light government of Israel right now. And I say fash-light because they can be voted out. Trump can be voted out. Orban was voted out. So these are fash-light. The hard fash are the ones that you can't get rid of. The hard fash are people like Putin and Kim Jong-un. Can't get rid of the fuckers. Just can't get rid of them. Like a bad stain in the carpet. But yeah, so you can get people on board to be anti-Semitic, and obviously you can get people on board to be transphobic on the right. That's dead easy. All you need to do is say, oh, well, trans people. That's it. You're done. Well done. That was hard, wasn't it? So you've got two different messages to achieve the same goal, whether it's being transphobic, being anti-Semitic. Yeah, you've done it. Well done, you misinformation people, disinformation people, malinformation people. And there's one thing that the Russians are really good at as well is sort of imitating legitimate newspapers, with logos, designs, and layouts and stuff like that. And readers are conned into believing that they are consuming trusted journalism. So there's fake news sites like the Daily Mail site, which is the most read entertainment site, because it's apparently not a news site in the world. The Mail Online, right? And it looks like it's a real news site. It looks like the BBC site. Well, not quite. It's too many adverts, but it looks like it's actually telling you what the news is, when it's not. It's telling you what the billionaire who owns the Daily Mail thinks about the news that happened yesterday. That's what the Daily Mail Online is. So it looks like a real site. People think that this is a trusted source of information when it's not. It's an unreliable narrator at best. And so you've got these, people believing that they are consuming trusted journalism, but in reality, they're reading propaganda disguised as reporting. We see this on GB News as well. And this exploits public trust built up by genuine media organizations. And a huge problem that we have right now is that these fake news sites like Mail Online are free. All of the ones that produce the bullshit are free, because bullshit is free and plentiful. It doesn't take anything to make up some bullshit. You take the news from the wires, from Reuters or from the Associated Press, comes through on the wires, and then you rewrite that story with your angle. That's it. You don't have to send out investigative journalists. You don't have to have someone in a war zone, getting bombs dropped on them, wearing a hard helmet, hoping not to get shot. Showing people what's actually happening in Gaza or in Pakistan or in Sudan or in Libya or in Ukraine or in Colombia. They don't have to show that, right? They just sit at the desk, usually at home, by the way. All these people who say, oh, you shouldn't work from home. They all work from home, and they just type away, and that's what they do, right? And that means that they can spread this absolute bullshit far and wide. GB News doesn't make a profit. Because all of these are lost leaders, right? The Mail Online, I think, makes money because it's got so many people clicking on it, and obviously it's got a lot of adverts. But the GB News has lost £50 million a year since it fucking started, right? And so here's the problem. Here's the big issue that we have at the moment. Bullshit, free, and being paid for by the billionaires. So there's a foreign-based billionaire, lives in Dubai. He's the dad of the banjo player from Mumford and Sons, and he funds this propaganda outfit on British TV, which they call GB News, in which they have they have a Tory sitting MP interviewing two Tory MPs, sitting MPs, about the election coming up. And you're like, okay. Meanwhile, the BBC is at pains to say, here's all the other candidates standing, Count Binface standing. If you want to vote for Count Binface, got to mention him. GB News lost it, right? So all of this bullshit is not just free, right? That's bad enough, but also it is being force-fed. So if you go onto your smart TV, you'll find that GB News comes up as a recommended channel on the first page of your, every day, and you turn it off, you delete it. I've deleted all the terrestrial channels off my TV in the other room. All of them are gone. Why? Because I don't want the advert for GB News coming up, because it always did in the bottom left corner, GB News. And I'm like, I don't want that to come up. I don't want anything to do with them. And so, yeah, I've had to get rid of all. So all the other terrestrial channels have suffered. But my point is this. Not only are these outlets free, whether it's GB News or whether it's these online sites, and don't forget, the front cover of newspapers is free. When we do the paper review, people see that as they walk in. This is why I always talk about what's on the front cover of the Telegraph and say this is disgusting, because this is what people see when they go in to buy some sweets or pay for their petrol. They see these newspapers and they see the front page. They don't read it. They like inside, they just sort of see the front page, and that's why that matters. But it's free disinformation that's being put out there, being pushed by someone who loses money. But like newspapers lose money. Newspapers lose loads of money. I think the Sun used to be profitable like in the 90s, but I don't think even the Sun is profitable anymore. They just lose money. And so you've got we've got a built environment around us, the internet that we've built around us, where lies are plentiful and cheap and free, and you can find them and you can spread them. And if you put a lie online, it's more likely to get more traction than if you put something true, right? The truth is behind the paywall. The truth. You want the truth? You've got to pay for an expensive newspaper or an expensive news magazine, or you need to subscribe to an expensive website. You got to subscribe to the Financial Times, and it costs a fortune. Everything's behind a paywall. Truth is behind a paywall. Investigative journalism is behind a paywall. Meanwhile, the truth is just running around. And I know that the Guardian website is free at the moment, and I hope it stays that way. The BBC website is free at the moment, even though the BBC has been infiltrated by all of Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson's old school chums. Me and my Samsung TV have this understanding. It doesn't suggest GB News and the world will keep spinning. Yeah. Jenny Robinson, there was a former Tory who came out as transgender woman a few years ago. Then they said they would still present as male to avoid confusion. Didn't Stephen Fry do that, something like that, in the 1980s, where he said, "Oh, I am gay, but I'm not going to act on my desires," or something. And then I think one day he just woke up and went, "Fuck this." Talk TV are as bad as Gammon Box. Yeah, said another one. Look, I know there are exceptions. I know there are a few still, free sites that you can go to, but generally speaking, disinformation has a huge head start on the truth. And those of us battling to tell the truth, it takes a long time. If you have one bit of misinformation out on the internet, didn't someone do a study on this where they said for every 1 minute spent spent making something up, an hour is spent refuting it? And this is why you have things like the Gish Gallop, which is a common technique with these people on the TV, the right-wing fuckers when they go on TV, and they'll say, we've got this, and this. And like they just say 10 bullshit statements in a row. And then the person opposite them has the same amount of time to refute each one, which is impossible. What you have to do is you have to pick out the most outrageous thing they've said and then use that as a Trojan horse to say everything that they said is nonsense. Absolutely, yeah. Just pick on one thing that you can just pull apart in a minute and say that everything else you've said there is absolute nonsense. I'm talking nonsense. Chris C, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. It's very kind of you. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. Yeah, very, very true. Very true. The X-Files will probably be very different with that tagline. The truth is a subscription model. I think it works actually, Gallifrey. The truth is out there. You just have to. You just ... You just have to pay for it. You just have to be rich. And isn't this again another part of how they are dividing us as people, as human beings? The haves and have-nothings, the house owners and the people who'll rent for the rest of their lives, the people who get pensions and the people who won't. And then you got people who are with access to real information, true stuff, and then the people who just don't have access to it because they can't afford it. Which is sad. Gallifrey said, my trans agenda is to write another 1,000 words to cook pasta. Where do I lobby government? Chrissy says, they claim they wouldn't have been able to manage bringing up a child with a disability. I know what my thoughts are on those two, but they are not for civil consumption. Big trans says I got to pay my this one. Free Israel from its oppressors. Yeah, and I think the oppressors of Israel are the Israeli government at the moment, who, as I've said before, Netanyahu is doing more for the fucking for the worldwide spread of anti-Semitism than any person since the short man from fucking Austria with the stupid moustache. Honestly, like the amount of anti-Semitism that I experienced when I was in Bocas del Toro with just normal people, just having a conversation. I didn't know them, and then suddenly within sort of 10 minutes of chatting, they'll say something really, really horrible about Jewish people and how they were all awful. And I was like, bloody hell. And that's somewhere where I'd never heard anything like that before. And suddenly people are like, no, hate them. And I'm like, something has shifted. Something has massively shifted. And I blame Netanyahu for that. I really do blame him. Because he's made it easy for people to be anti-Semitic like never before. People have got a reason now to be anti-Semitic. Now, for centuries, people had no reason at all, really, to hate Jewish people. No reason. And they hated them anyway. What do you think was going to happen? What do you think was going to happen? Saz is there with a £2 super chat. Thank you very much, Saz. That is very, very kind of you. Thanks, Saz. Person impersonator. I need nothing. I have everything I need. I sit under a blanket, a coffee in my hand. Oh. Diz says, thanks for the support to Chris. That's very nice of you. I love it when people thank people in the chat. It's really lovely. Breaking news from Chris. Women excusing Andrew Tate criticise UK extradition as delay as influencer appears in Russia. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. It's absolutely fucking disgusting. But yeah, we are definitely in some ways a two-tier society, but not in the way that Nigel Farage imagines. When he talks about a two-tier society, he's talking about him and his mates and then everyone else, and they are the two tiers. He is a Coutts bank account holder. That's the tier. If you can have a Coutts bank account, you're part of his club. If you can't, you can go fuck yourself to unalivement. That guy, the woolly back who's running for the Makerfield by-election, he wouldn't be allowed in the club that Nigel Farage visited on Wednesday after standing up in PMQs and saying disgusting things and being booed and being jeered by everyone in Parliament. Like everyone in Parliament was just, I think there might have been one person, like Richard Tice sitting next to him, who wasn't actually jeering him. Everyone else was. I hope Tate has a nice cup of tea with Putin. Yeah. So yep, just reading up some messages. Bum 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 bum. Sorry, just checking if something else has happened. I'm really upset about Anthony Head dying. You know, like, I mean, fucking hell, Giles. Why is he gone and Trump is still there? What the hell? What are you playing at, Grim Reaper? Come on, get with the program. Bring me a big beautiful day. Do you know what? I read today in Laos, the country of Laos, they have now banned the import of all industrial internal combustion engine cars. So ICE cars have been banned in Laos. Apparently, they were banned in Ethiopia a couple of years ago, imports, except for obviously like big vehicles, trucks, and things like that. There's no electric alternative. Well, Laos in a huge river system. Obviously, it's got the mighty Mekong and other rivers running through it, and they produce more hydroelectricity than they need. They actually export their hydroelectricity, so switching to EV is. But the reason they're doing this is because of the Strait of Hormuz. And like I said, when I did the show about like the silver lining of all this Trump nonsense, it is pushing the world towards net zero faster than. This is the last desperate death rattle of the oil industry that knows it's dying on its arse, and Trump is accelerating that death by making it so these countries, because don't forget, you know, there is a domino effect here. You get countries like Laos saying, right, no internal combustion engine cars because we can't fucking afford them. We can afford electric cars though. We can afford to run electric cars. And then other countries next door, Thailand, Burma, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, and we're seeing this across China, where the take-up of EV cars has gone through the roof. We're seeing this in New Delhi, where the new electric tuk-tuks are taking over. Like, people are getting electric tuk-tuks. Fucking fantastic. Brilliant. I know one of the reasons they're getting them is because they can rob other people's electricity. Literally, people are breaking into each other's houses and stealing their electricity when they're not home, which I shouldn't laugh at, but it's kind of like, people didn't have like petrol just sitting in their homes usually, you know, the little jerry can for someone to steal, but they've got electricity. But it does mean that people are moving over to non-fossil fuel power. Pakistan, there's been a huge revolution in people having a solar panel on the roof of the house. Same thing's happened in Nigeria as well. And in those countries, it was because a lot of the time the power went out and people were just sick of the power going out. I was in Lagos for 2 days and there was 2 power outages while I was there. And this was Lagos, which is quite well developed. I mean, you got some not skyscrapers, but like sky scratchers there. You go there, and it's a similar sort of vibe to somewhere like Liverpool in terms of like the new builds and stuff like that. And the power would go off, and then you'd have 30 seconds of as people were getting pulling the cord to get their Jennies started under torchlight, and then finally get it done. And I remember we were sitting in a restaurant, me and the guy I was staying with at the time, who was from Ghana, and we had our the old mobile phones, the old Nokia ones had the torch on the back of them. I suppose the new mobile phones have torches, but the old mobile phones with the torch on the back of them, and like everyone sort of just got out their little Nokias and turned the torch on the phone and put them on the table, and that lit up the room. That we were in the restaurant because the power went out, and everyone was turning on their firing up their Jennies, their little generators to get the light. But here's the thing: in countries like Pakistan, in countries like Nigeria, most people don't have air conditioning, right? I know some people do if they live in an apartment block, but a lot of people don't. They just need light. They just need light. That's all they need. It isn't very energy intensive, to be honest with you. Not like having a fridge or an air conditioning unit or a bar fire, a bar heater, sorry. And so having a solar panel which they can buy for $50 on the top of the roof, and then an old car battery, fucking great. It works. Don't knock it. I've been up since 7 a.m. Was at the post office for 8 a.m. Picked up a few essentials while in town. I'm back home before 9 a.m. Cool. I think Tate's visit to Russia shows that they love the company of corruption and cruelty. Yep, they do. I saw one of the electric Renault 5s a couple of days ago. That's cool. Nokia, the original brick, says Chrissy. Hey, I got around the world with a couple of Nokias. Didn't have a smartphone when I was traveling. And maybe I should make more of that when I'm talking about my travels, because it is one of the big changes that's happened over the last 15 years. Is like everyone has a smartphone now. Been on the phone for 45 minutes. Love my mate, but she can't half talk. Well, Martin, you're in good company, my friend. Well, she's in good company. Hopefully there's a window very high up that needs repairing. Come, Andrew Taint, look at this window. Okay, look at that. Look at. Anyway, also going back to this disinformation and misinformation, you've got the bot network problem. Most people misunderstand bots. Bots rarely try and persuade anyone directly. Their purpose is just amplification. They create artificial polarity. So you'll get a bot with thousands of likes, thousands of shares, thousands of comments, because the bot starts the thing off by saying, I love Nigel Farage, and then people feel compelled to write, no, he's a twat. Plants MG, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Trump is ripping up all of the oceanographic sensors. Yeah, there's hundreds of these sensors that were placed in the ocean, and a cost of millions of dollars, tracking not just the temperature of the ocean but the salinity of the ocean at different points. And he's having them all ripped up. Yeah, Plants MG. You know the movie Don't Look Up. That's where we're living now. That's where we're living. Oh, Christy, £2 super chat for the confetti. Confetti. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you very much, Christy. You are an absolute legend, and thanks to everyone else who's chipped in this morning. Maybe if we can get another few in before I finish. In this time we will do a Boba Fetty. Yeah. I'm willing to do a Boba Fetty. Okay, so just got that set up. So the perception is like with bots is like this idea that everyone's talking about this, and human psychology interprets popularity as credibility, and it's called social proof, and it's like people start liking a band that's popular, and they don't know why they like them to start with. it's just because they're popular. It's like, oh, well, I should listen to this because it's popular. It's the same thing that you hear, when the movie comes out and there's a load of fuss about it. People go, oh, I should go and see that because everyone's talking about it. And it delves into the little bit of your brain. Just goes like right into your brain, into the YOLO bit, the fear of missing out, FOMO, not YOLO. You'll only live once, so therefore you've got the fear of missing out, and this idea that everyone's talking about something, but you're not across the board with it, and like you think, oh shit, I need to find out more about this. And also you've got troll farms, so you've got the bot farms, which are automated, and you've got troll farms, which employ real people. The workers operate multiple accounts simultaneously, and their job is to provoke arguments, spread fake narratives, reinforce divisions, exhaust their opponents, and sometimes they support opposing sides of the same issue. The goal isn't winning; it's just keeping societies locked in endless conflict for money. They make a lot of money doing it. We found out when last year, was it last year or earlier this year? When for a moment all of the X accounts, the Twitter accounts, showed where the users were, and it turned out that all these MAGA, like mad MAGA people with like thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers were all based in like Sri Lanka or like in Kazakhstan or in North Macedonia. Do you know what I mean? It was like, okay. But yeah, and then you've got the rise of AI, which kind of like, in some way, makes it even more difficult because people can't differentiate. I pride myself on the fact that I've not been sucked into any AI stuff, and I tend to, if I see something, I tend to check now. I never repost something without checking it first, and that's been my policy for a long time. But particularly with AI, I try to take nothing on face value. And yeah, I might have shared a couple of things where I've looked at it and gone, it's AI, but I don't care. But generally speaking, AI I find it obnoxious. I hate the look of it. I hate how shiny people are. I hate how fake it looks, how dead the eyes are in an AI picture. And I also hate the syntax of AI, where they do this thing. It's just like, you see this all the time on TikTok now, where people make AI TikTok videos, and it sounds like a real person speaking. But if they go, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's this, it's AI. It's almost certainly AI. That is a syntax. That is a phrasing that the AI loves to use. Another one is when they'll talk about someone doing something or something happening, and it'll list all the things that happened, and then it'll say something like, all in 15 seconds, which is not something a human being would ever fucking say. So it's kind of like spotting those things where you're like, uncanny valley. And one of the reasons why I am writing my book online, so people can watch me write my book, is because well, the main one is to get me writing, but the subsidiary of that is no one can accuse me of being AI. You're seeing me writing it there and then. The more I hear about TikTok, the glad I never went near it. There is some good stuff on TikTok. There is some good stuff on there, genuinely. Especially for the trans community. There's some really great allies on there, and trans creators who really are pushing the fight, the front of the fight against this horrific normalization of transphobia that we've seen over the last few years. Some good news, depending on how you feel about nuclear power, the second reactor vessel has been successfully restored at Hinkley Point C. So, Chris, I'm going to say that's good news because the money's been spent, so may as well bloody make it. And nuclear power is non-fossil fuel, and it can provide a baseline of power. So we can use solar and wind for the bulk of our power, but then when we need it, we can use our nuclear power stations, which the French do. The French have done really well with this, with nuclear power stations. They're very safe. And it's interesting, like the people who worry the most about nuclear power stations are usually the people who know the least about nuclear power stations. So, I'm like, I sort of err on the side of the scientists on the science on stuff like this. And yeah, I've less of a problem with it than others. But in an ideal world, we wouldn't need any nuclear power stations because the big problem with nuclear power is the waste. It's just you've got to do something with it. I know with the new generation of power stations that they're reusing, they're recycling the nuclear material, but it still is especially for the plants that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s that are being decommissioned because they've run out of their lifespan. Yeah, I can see why people are afraid of nuclear power, especially after Chernobyl, after what happened at Fukushima. And all I'll say to that is, like, whereas they do have a point, also at the same time, we need to stop what's happening with climate change, because climate change is going to kill a lot more animals. It's going to kill a lot more trees. It's not going to kill a lot more people because of fossil fuel. So yeah, I could give a spirited argument either way with nuclear power, to be honest with you. But when it comes down to it, yeah, get this nuclear power station online. Get the new power cables put in all over the country. Do it next year. Massive fucking effort. I'll join in. You know, I'll join in. Whatever I can do to help, just let me know. Let's do this on a war footing. Get those power cables set up and get them turned on, and so people can, you know, we can make our own democratic grid of the nation where we make our own power in our own homes, like Dig for Victory, making our own vegetables. Okay. The waste from nuclear power is not as much of an issue these days. Yeah, I did say that. Like, I know that they're recycling it, aren't they? We can reprocess the majority of the waste generated into new fuel or for medical purposes. Lord Shout says nuclear power stations are safe. It's the builders of nuclear power stations that can be a bit Fair enough. I don't want to sort of get onto a big discussion about nuclear power, but I have a lot less of an issue with a nuclear power station coming online than I do with Refuck saying that we should send Welsh people down the coal mines again. I mean, what? Fuck off. Just what? When done correctly, it's the best sort of energy. One we will know we will need if we ever want to become a multi-planetary species with physics as we know it. Yeah, good point. But also, Liam, I don't want to become a multi-planetary species. I like it here. It's fine, you know? Don't have to worry about getting fucking irradiated by the fucking sun. Don't have to worry about going outside, you know, for more than 5 seconds and dying. Yeah. I was afraid of nuclear watching Kyle Hill sorted me out. Yeah. I think this is kind of like, yeah. It's not guidance, it's a gender critical wish list, says L. Talking about the fucking guidance for, like, the way it's been put out. And I think it was Stella Creasy, who's an ally. She stood up in Parliament and said, hang on, right? So what you're going to do in this ridiculous situation where you're at a cafe and people are told not to confront people who they suspect of being trans, but to tell a member of staff. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to go up to a woman? It might be cisgender, might be trans, don't know, right? And say, are you a woman? What? I'm serving coffee. What the fuck are you? Why are you asking me to do this? This is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous. You know, you're working behind the bar, and working behind the bar. You're standing up the whole time, and you got to look busy. You can't just sit there looking at your phone because you get into trouble with the boss if you do that. You got to look busy, so polish things if there's nothing to do. And you're serving drinks all night. You're standing there, 6-hour shift, and then someone comes over and says, "Oh, there's someone in the girls' toilets, and I don't think they should be in there." Okay, so am I supposed to stand, waste my time, in my bar and not serving anyone, and stand outside the women's toilets for them to come out? And then what am I supposed to do? Say you shouldn't have used that toilet? I can't go in there. I'm a man. I can't go in. So I can't tell it. Say, oh, I don't think you should have been in there. And then the woman says to me, yeah, I should. And I go, okay then. And go back to pouring my drinks. What the fuck? Do I call the police? Who do I call? The FBI? The CIA? The fucking MI6? James Bond's supposed to come flying through the fucking window. Oh, I hear you've got a trans person who may or may not be in your toilet, who may or may not be trans. Okay, well, I'll put this pint down, then I'll put this pint of Guinness down. Just hang on there. Say to all my customers, I'll just hang on there. I've got to go and check the fucking toilet. I can't go in. I'll just stand outside the toilet, waiting. Or maybe they want me to go in. Maybe that's the point. They want like cisgender male, in my 40s, go into the women's toilets. Just checking there are no trans people in here. What the fuck? There is no real world application to this. It is an absolute nonsense. And all it is a bigot's charter, a wish list for transphobes, but also people who want to start fucking fights. And people who want to be horrible. That woman who you've always fucking hated. Great. Do you know what you get to do now? You see her in the bogs down at the local fucking, Greasy Spoon Cafe. You can say, I don't think you should be in here because you don't look feminine enough for my liking. Be horrible to people. What do you think kind of complex that's going to give to women? I mean, imagine teenage girls being mocked by their male counterparts in their schools, being told, you can't use those toilets because you don't look like a girl. You got no tits. Horrible little boys. This is like a fucking little charter for like little snivelling little shits to be horrible to the girls they go to school with. Oh, the law says I have to be horrible to you. It says it in the law. It says it in the guidance. It says I should challenge you. Well, no, I should go and get a teacher to challenge you. Shouldn't be using the toilets because you don't look feminine enough. What would that do to your ego as a teenager? This whole thing is so disgusting. It is off the fucking charts. And it's something that if the trans community was more people, if there were more people who were trans and more allies who would actually get off the fucking arse and do something about this, there would be riots. If this was any other minority group, there would be fucking riots. But this is the thing. Trans people are really nice. Trans people are kind, gentle souls. All the ones I've met, anyway. Fucking, I mean, how this is supposed to work? Just a bigot's charter. A bigot's charter. That's all it is. Yeah, although putting in the high-power transfer cables from Orkney to the mainland would be a great start for net zero. Yep. If they ask me, I'll tell them it's none of their business, along with how rude, how dare, etc., says L. Yeah. I saw an article yesterday that Sex Matters, funded by oil companies, is taking legal action against a school because a female pupil was advised to use the unisex disabled toilet, saying it is illegal. I heard park runs getting fucking sued for allowing trans women to run in park run. I Kavanagh-pathic behaviour. Yeah. Liam says, I'm disgusted with how humanity is behaving since the 2010s. Yeah. And there's no surprise that it all started. This new era of cruelty began with social media. Because the more cruel you were, the more likely you would get kudos on social media. And now AI's made it worse. Fake speeches, fake scandals, fake confessions, fabricated evidence. Corrections obviously arrive later than the actual original falsehood. And Henry Nowak's, to move on to Henry Nowak, his murder was a genuine tragedy. His family explicitly asked politicians not to use his death to create division. And despite this, competing political actors immediately attempted to fit their case into broader ideological narratives. You saw the same fucking gobshites. Nigel Farage cropped up. Then you had, at this riot, you had Tommy Ten Names, Stephen Laxley Lennon, the criminal short-ass twat who runs the biggest neo-Nazi organisation in the UK. You had Lawrence Fox turn up because he's got nothing better to do. I mean, it's not like he can hang out with his family, is it? Because none of them want anything to do with the cunt. And then you've got Posey Parker, who's another one of these fuckers who doesn't use their real name. Why don't they use their real name? What's that about? Why don't they use their real name? Especially someone like her, who's a mad fucking transphobe. And she's like, oh no, people shouldn't be allowed to change their names. It's like when what's her name? Who's that fucking bellend? Liz Truss was being. Do you remember when she was being interviewed? And I think it was by Andrew Neil, actually. Can't remember. Someone from the BBC, I think. And she said, they said about Brexit. She said, we were going full force for Brexit. And he's like, well, can't people change their minds? And she's like, no, we had the vote and that's it. He said, but you did. Because she was a Remainer. Yeah, these people. All the fucking arseholes. What, Parkville? No, that's blooming ridiculous. There are no medals. I know, Witchy Goth. There's no medals. You don't get a prize for coming first. Your objective with Parkville is to beat your personal best. That is it. Each week you go along, you meet people, and you might have a bad week and decide to walk off the course. Doesn't matter. The participation is the victory. Getting to the 5K is the victory, right? And then if you've done 250 park runs, you get a T-shirt. I think you have to pay for it. You know what I mean? It's like just fucking. Anyway, child called India against kids named after countries. Yes, Liam, that was Haiti Hopkins, wasn't it? She was on TV saying, we shouldn't call children after places. Brooklyn Beckham, I mean. To which the presenter on one of the morning shows said to her, don't you have a child called India? India's not a place, she said. India is not a place. I think there's 1.4 billion Indians who might have a word to say about that. Park Run Palaver is because they don't want trans women running beside cis women. Have they forgotten that we are far superior athletes and will lead them in our wake really quickly, says Jenny Robinson. Yeah. Lord Shouty says, one of these people is going to get caught in the trans orgy. Always happens. Really annoys me that the people can't just live without prejudice. Yeah. There's no way that Graham Linehan's hard drive isn't filled with trans porn. And he definitely goes over to Thailand, for a bit of action over there. Absolutely he does. He does. Fucking gobshite. If it's why I want to remake that episode of Father Ted, the racism episode. I hear you're a racist now, Father. Does that mean I have to be racist too? And I want to remake that episode, but it's all about trans. And it's called Mother Ted, and it's all about a trans woman who is trying to explain to everyone that they're not transphobic. And then at the end of it, they go down into Father Graham, in Graham Linehan's basement, and they find all this trans porn. In the original, they found all the Nazi regalia in the priest's basement. Yeah, it's going to be that, but it's going to be Graham Linehan sitting there. He's a little bog troll. He doesn't half look like one of those blobfishes now. He's turned into a blobfish, Graham Linehan. Just sitting there going like that. I personally believe Rowling is secretly a trans woman. Discuss. Yeah. Well, she was getting transvestigated at some point. Yeah. Regardless of medals, it's blooming ridiculous. I'm pretty sure I've been in races with trans women and men. I don't care. Too busy trying to breathe. And yes, Chris, it's about PBs. Yeah. You're competing against yourself. But they want to exclude trans women from public life. That is their stated aim. That's what they want to do. That is their goal. Because they're fucking shit. They're just horrible people. Talking of horrible people. So these fucking gobshites who exploited the tragic murder of Henry Nowak, the horrific murder of Henry Nowak, and the police response to this one incident where they misjudged it badly. They didn't have a torch. They should have had a fucking torch. They didn't see that the kid had been stabbed. As soon as they did, they responded in the correct way that you do when someone has been stabbed. But they were going on the information that they had. And there's no protocol to say, if you turn up at a situation and there's a brown kid and a white kid, you have to handcuff the white kid every time. That does not exist. And whereas there will be an investigation into this and they will make amendments to how police are trained, the idea that sensitivity training has caused this, no, it hasn't. It hasn't. Like that's necessary because you need to know when you're dealing with communities how to talk to people without upsetting the people that you're talking to. I mean, one of the things that we talk about with the British police, and one of the things I do like about the British police force is they don't have fucking guns. What do they have? Words, right? So yeah, one of the things they need to be able to do if they go into a particular community is be able to talk to people in a non-threatening way. And that you're only going to learn that if you sit down in a class and you're taught how to talk to certain people from certain different backgrounds, or how to communicate with people who are disabled, how to talk to deaf people. They need to, do your lip read? Yeah, okay, and you need to be able to see my lips. And if you're Scottish, you're going to have to pretend to be English and shave off your beard. I'm joking. It's just hard to lip read someone who's Scottish. Chris, she stated she was considering to transition. Her own words, state it clearly. Yeah, she said that in this is talking about J.K. Rowling in her Turf Wars post that she put up in 2020. She said if the option was available when she was young, she might have considered it, becoming a trans man. And it's very telling that she writes under a male name, Robert Gilbraith, and who's named after a conversion therapist doctor. And yeah, she called herself J.K. Rowling because apparently people wouldn't buy children's books written by women. Like something like Enid Blyton or Beatrix Potter, or who buys books by them? Anyway, so yeah, so we also got JD Vance got involved in the Nowak murder. He used the Nowak case to make a wider argument about migration and European politics, and about how Europe is going to fall because of all the people coming from other places. People have always come from other places to Europe, always. You know the play Othello, right? It's set in Italy, right? The guy in it is black, right? That's the whole point. That's why it's about race relations. And he marries a white woman, which is apparently illegal in America. Well, it used to be until very recently. And it all goes to shit because of a man who's a fucking racist. He decides to spread disharmony, and make Othello feel like he's being cheated on by Desdemona. But Othello is a Moor. He's a Spanish Moor. He's a black Spaniard from the Barbary Coast, as we called it at the time. Historically, yeah. Yeah, that guy who murdered the Saudi students in Cambridge lived just around the corner from where I used to live. So that happened this week. There was a guy who went down for 22 years for the murder of a Saudi student in Cambridge who had only been here for I think he'd only been here for a few months. Just really, really horrific story about a racist, and his dad helped him out. With this murder of Henry Nowak, where the parents tried to cover up the crime. That happened with this crime that this white supremacist, this white racist committed. I didn't see the Saudis burning down anywhere or throwing fucking e-bikes at the police. I didn't see that. I didn't see the Muslim communities in the country going, oh, we need to go out and white outrage. I didn't see any Muslim MPs standing up and making a statement in a field saying, oh, now's the time to rise up against our oppressors. Didn't see that at all. And people are treating this Henry Nowak murder like this is something that happens all the time. And like with Jamie Bulger, like with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, it's notable because it hardly ever fucking happens. If it happens every day, we wouldn't go on about it so much. But these things, first of all, they freak us the fuck out because it's a horrible, horrible thing to happen. And secondly, it gives us a false idea about how dangerous the world is, that everyone's out to get us and abduct our children or to kill toddlers or to murder someone and then claim that they were the victim. Fresh tip: if you are in a fetish bar and get a coffee, when asked would you like cream with your coffee, you say no, unless it's your thing, of course. Maybe that's why you're there. No judgment here. Yeah, I mean, it would be a bit salty, wouldn't it? You don't want salt in your coffee. I've never watched it either way, Witchy. The TV trailers were enough to put me off, says Martin Harrow. The female roles in Shakespearean plays are played by men. And during the time Shakespeare was alive, it was illegal for a woman to play a female part on stage. Yeah. And Shakespeare had a lot of fun with that because a lot of his plays were going to be men pretending to be women who were playing women who were pretending to be men, like Portia in Merchant of Venice and stuff like that. That's exactly my point. I don't see the TERFs going after the Royal Shakespeare Company. Yep, good point. And there's a lot of cross-dressing that goes on in Shakespeare. A lot of cross-dressing. Are we writing today, Graham? No, Galfayman, I'm going to try and get the kids out of the house because I don't want them just staring at their tablets all day. So I won't be writing today. I'll probably pick that up again on Monday. But try and do something with the fam today. But I will crack on with chapter 5 on Monday. I was going to do it yesterday, but I ended up doing the agenda with Phil, which was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But after that, then it was like, okay, it's not raining. I really need to go and do some stuff in the garden. So I just went into the garden, like built some things. So I'm gonna remove the goal because I realise we haven't got that much time left, and I probably won't get another 5 super chats. So I'm going to change it to one super chat. We can get the Boba Fett in. So don't do it just yet. If you're going to drop a super chat in, just leave it for a moment. Just a bit to just talk about JD Vance and this, the outrage that was spouted towards Obama when he said, "Hey, Brexit's not going to be a good idea. Britain's going to have to go to the back of the queue." And why is he pontificating on British politics? Meanwhile, Elon Musk and JD Vance are interfering. And Lucy Powell has argued that refuck benefits from bot activity and online amplification, and also benefits from sugar daddies who live in Thailand, giving them all their money. The key, tiny amount of their huge, vast fortune. The key question is not whether every reform supporter is a bot. They're obviously not, but would artificial networks helping certain narratives travel further than they otherwise would? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Similar concerns have been expressed in Germany, in France, in Romania, in Moldova, in Slovakia. Electoral authorities have increasingly treated online manipulation as a national security issue, which it is. Nigel Farage is a national security issue. He can't be anywhere near the levers of power because he'll do to us what Trump is doing to America. And then you've got the billionaire factor. The political influence no longer requires owning newspapers. Wealth can purchase platforms. Larry Ellison owns TikTok now. Elon Musk owns Twitter. But wealth can purchase, the platform visibility, and they don't need to make money. Stop funding hate. Okay, that's great, and I really support what they do. But if all the advertisers pulled out of Gammon Box News tomorrow, it wouldn't make any difference because then it's not made to make money. What's his name? Who's that gobshite? So many of them. Elon Musk was given all that money from the Saudis, right? Because they fucking hate our country as well, the Saudi government. They hate our way of life. And he wanted to disrupt it. So he's given this money by the Saudis to buy Twitter, not to make money out of Twitter. People were like, oh, it's not worth 44 billion. Yeah, it wasn't. It never was. But what it was worth is its weight in fucking gold as a platform in which he can spread misinformation and lies, disinformation, and malinformation. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. JD Vance's speech was part of the US national security strategy, which wants ultra-right governments all over Europe. Yes. Yeah, it does indeed. And they've been very clear about that as well. Anyway, it's time to unleash the Boba Fett. I know that didn't clock up, Miss Paula Thomas, on the Total Lies. So we could do this again if someone else drops in the super chat. But for you, Miss Paula Thomas, 3, 2, 1. Boba Fetty! Boba Fetty! Boba Fetty! Look at me, I'm Boba Fetty. I think I should make my Boba Fetty helmet bigger. Should we make it bigger? Oh, it moved. It moved. Come back, Boba Fetty helmet. There you go. We'll make it like so big that it comes in there. What do you reckon? There you go. that looks really good, actually. If you keep my head still. Boba Fett. That woman is a woman. Shakespeare in Love. Yes, Harry. Although he still shouldn't have won the fucking Best Picture Oscar. I'll never get over that. Personally, I'm chuffed. Pretty much have stopped smoking this year. I vaped flavors daytime and soul doublet a bedtime. Chuffed at myself. Well done, person impersonator. Good on you. That's a really, 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 really good thing that you've done there. And I know it takes a lot of willpower to do that because they put chemicals in those fucking cigarettes that make them incredibly addictive. As my friends who used to work with heroin addicts in Manchester always used to tell me, you can get them off the smack, but you can't get them off the cigarettes because the cigarettes more addictive than smack. True story. One of my piggies was called Schubert. I took from Chewbacca, Scoobert Do, and Qbert, the arcade game. However it's spelled, I forgot. So yeah, well done on person impersonator. Good stuff. I know how difficult that is. Some of those chaps are wearing skirts. Yeah. What are they, Scottish? Anyway, so you got the billionaire factor, haven't you? The concentration of informational power is concentrated amongst a very small number of individuals who have a vested interest in fascism, in keeping us divided and fighting amongst ourselves while they rule over us and keep taking money from out of the system and putting it into their pockets. Even if there were billionaires out there who were nice, there aren't, but if there were, this creates a democratic concerns regardless of ideology. We have a country that at the moment the information through which is controlled by a handful of billionaires who live in other countries, and then our economy is controlled by a handful of billionaires who live in other countries because they're the ones who own the bonds, the gilts, the government debt, and they're the ones who go, oh no, we're going to sell all this government debt if you don't do what we say. Yeah, don't be building council houses. We'll pull up the drawbridge on this government debt. It's far too much control. Far too much control. I honestly think that Britain should just renege on the fucking debt. Fuck them. Just take the money. Just take the money and run. Say, oh yeah, sorry. Hey, listen, it's a gamble. Didn't say you're going to get any money out of it at the end of the day. And use the money to just build a country that's self-sufficient. And in terms of energy, I don't think we'll ever be self-sufficient in terms of food. Although we could be, but it would require intensive farming techniques like they have in the Netherlands. Could be done, but I don't think many people would like to drive through the countryside and see lots of polytunnels everywhere. I don't think, but that's to do away with our golf courses and our grouse moors. But yeah, I've all this talks of mass distraction. I'm going to have to listen to Faithless for a bit. Oh, Faithless, great band. Censorship isn't a simple answer because democracies face this real dilemma at the moment about information. If government regulates too little, manipulation spreads. But if it regulates too much, then free expression suffers. So democracies need safeguards that authoritarian states do not. And any regulatory framework needs to be transparent, accountable, and be challengeable in court. Otherwise, anti-disinformation laws themselves become tools of abuse. And so what we know works, media literacy education. This is huge, right? We need people to be able to understand what is real and what isn't. And this does mean some adult education. And it means that something like what I would do is say, okay, you want to join this platform, or you want to stay on this platform. It'd be great for YouTube, for YouTube or for Facebook in particular. You want to stay on this platform? Okay, you have to pass these cognitive tests, and part of it is spotting misinformation. If you can't do that, we're going to suspend your account. Fuck it. I mean, the Facebook company won't like that, but you just say to them, well, it's that or nothing. It's that or you do not have a presence in the United Kingdom. That's it. We just, a lot of the older people who use Facebook, they don't know their way around a what are those things? VPN. The British government says, no, we're not going to allow this website in our country anymore, which we do. There are websites that are prescribed in this country that you cannot access in this country. Porn sites, they said, porn sites can't be accessed in this country unless you sign up with your credit card. give your credit card details to purveyors of porn. It's a Paris Paloma day today. I love Paris Paloma. It's fucking brilliant. Sod it, I'm bursting here. Boba Fett, his rocket went off when I was polishing his helmet. Got a lot of fuss in his rocket. Oh well. Media literacy education for kids and for adults, teaching source verification, teaching critical thinking, understanding emotional manipulation techniques, greater transparency around political advertising, clear labeling of AI generated content. We need that. We need a "this is AI" written over AI shite. We need stronger cyber security protections. We need better election monitoring. We need faster identification of coordinated foreign influence campaigns. I mean, a foreign influence campaign, there is a guy from fucking Thailand who has given £5 million to Nigel Farage to run a campaign in which he says, he's a crypto billionaire. He's given money to this guy who is running in the UK to say, if I become leader of the UK, the first thing I'm going to do is going to get rid of all the regulation that is stopping cryptocurrency bastards from doing whatever they want to do. We also need faster identification of sorry, I mentioned that about this faster identification, but also faster adjudication. So if there is a foreign influence campaigns going on, not only do we need to stop it, we need to find the people responsible, and if they're in this country, like Nigel Farage, and put them on trial for their lives. We need to do this. We need to get fucking serious. We need independent journalism. We need to stop the paywalls. Like, honestly, I would pay money from the government to a pool of websites, and their job is to report the news without a paywall. And the government there's a pool of money there for them, set amount, so they can pay for journalists to do what they need to do. And you say to them, you have to be independent. By law, you have to be independent. And you know what? Some of them might write a load of bollocks about the government that you don't like. But as long as it's true, we need to also make our libel and slander laws better. At the moment, libel and slander defamation laws are used by the rich to stifle any kind of like dissent against them from the haves and the have-nothings. It's used by the haves to stifle any freedom of speech for people like us, right? That's what they use it for. If you reach a certain level of notoriety, they will sue it. They'll sue me if they have the chance, but we don't have that big an audience here, so they're not going to make much money out of doing that. So why would they? But public broadcasters, we need public broadcasters that remain genuinely independent. We don't have the BBC at the moment being infiltrated by Boris Johnson's old school chums. It's ridiculous. What doesn't work is arguing with every conspiracy theory individually. You're arguing against the bot. Don't bother. Just don't bother. I mean, if I ever respond to a message online, it's usually just to insult someone's mum. And when they say, "Oh, you go insult my mum," I say, "Well, bots don't have mums, so I don't care." We need to, we need to work better in the way that we fact check. A better way would be to make it so that this bullshit can't get out in the first place. But once it has, we need to get better at doing that. We need to. It's a tough one for me to say, but we need to stop assuming that voters are stupid. Even refuck voters. Yeah, I know that's difficult for me, but I don't have to do this. This is just what we need to do as a society. I don't need to do it individually. But we need to stop mocking people who have fallen into misinformation ecosystems and ignoring legitimate grievances that bad actors exploit. We need to exploit those grievances ourselves to tell the truth, to actually power through and get a positive narrative out of it. And then treat information warfare. We need to not treat information warfare as an online only phenomenon, because it exists on the newspapers, it exists on the TV, on Gammon Box News. And the greatest danger is not that everyone believes the same lie. The greatest danger is people just don't know what to believe anymore. No one believes anything. And democracy depends on some shared understanding of reality. It's very easy to get someone who is suddenly, they don't believe X, Y, Z, to take them a little bit further and say that, well, what about climate change? And they go, okay, I don't believe in that anymore because it's scary. It's scary and far off. So it's easier for people just to sleep at night to go, oh, it's not going to happen. We can disagree about solutions, but we shouldn't be in a situation where we are disagreeing so venomously about facts. And because once that trust collapses, then we lose legitimacy as a state. Our elections lose legitimacy. Our democracy loses legitimacy. People don't know what's real and what's not real. This is the world that the rich have wanted to create for years. We have movies about this for years, about people not knowing what's real and what's not, and that's such a great thing um, for the fash. Don't forget, 1984, Winston's job is literally to rewrite history. Is to change the words in the books, to edit the words in the books, so that what we've always been at war with East Asia. Get cheap on the black market. Cool. Are we talking about drugs? I want to try a moon rock. Is that something that people smoke these days to get a rock from the moon? So yeah, we need to find ways of defending democracy without becoming too illiberal ourselves, and we need to combat manipulation without giving future governments, excessive power over free speech. Because don't forget, whatever tools the government make right now, they can be exploited in the future by a future right-wing government. And Phil made a point about this yesterday. If we build council houses, well, then the Tories get back in 10 years' time. What they can do is sell off all those council houses, and they get another generation of Tory voters, devotees to the Tory party. Because Thatcher let me buy me house. I wouldn't have this house if it wasn't for Thatcher, etc. Are you talking about Josh Ackland's spunky backpack? Oh yeah, absolutely, Josh Ackland's spunky backpack. Little peep show reference there for those of you in the know. But yes, it's all good. Just let me know when any of you are over. My friend owns a coffee shop solo. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's all go to the coffee shop. That'll be very cool. So I'm gonna punch out now at 11 o'clock. Just coming up to 2 hours of me rabbiting on. But yeah, how we answer these questions, like how do we preserve open debate while preventing foreign actors from poisoning it? These questions are likely to define politics for the rest of the century. And I think we need to get, for the first time ever, we need to get sort of a bit more ahead of the curve, especially with the AI revolution. This is actually happening. We're living through it. It's not like it's on the doorstep. It's in the house, It's in the house. The call's coming from inside the house. But we do need to suss out clever ways of dealing with this shit. Otherwise, we are going to go down a very dark road that is paved with disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. And we need to do something about it. So I agree with Lucy Powell about the fact that we need to we need to call out this right wing bullshit that's out there. And we need to have laws. It's not just about, we need to call it out on this side, but in the government, they need to actually make laws, enact laws that can stop this shit from going too far, which I think it already has. And when it comes to foreign actors who don't have our best intention at heart, like JD Vance, fuck off. The emotional response to him getting involved in our politics should be for us all to say fuck off, from the top of our lungs. Anyway, let me say from the top of my lungs, thank you very much to everyone in the chat who has dropped in a super chat or joined in the conversation. That is very kind of you. Everyone watching, thank you very much. If you've been watching along, silently lurking, please give us a like before we go and subscribe. Go on, subscribe. Go on. You don't have to join in the conversation, but subscribing really helps the channel. And if you are subscribed, hit the bell notification icon because I might do a show later today. You don't know. I might. You never know. I like to leave these things hanging until the last minute and then go, yeah, I'll do a show. But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock for the Sunday sermon. Oh, well, I'll think of something to talk about for an hour or so while we have a good chat in the chat, So listen, have a great weekend. Take care of each other. And until we meet again, we'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and